What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Next Win podcast with your host, Aunt Ma, co-host Justin Vaseur, and special guest, co-founder of Asian Hustle Network, Bryan Pham. Thank you for being here today.
I'm happy to be here today.
Man, you guys have exploded in the social media world and just, worldwide in everything. And if you guys have never, ever heard of Asian Hustle Network, you need to follow them on IG. Where else? Facebook,
Twitter, Instagram,
and just
TikTok, everywhere.
Your website, asianhustlenetwork.com.
That's correct.
All right. So I'm really curious. I know I've known you for about, 2-3 years now?
That's right. During the pandemic.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And his business has just grown so fast and so much. And I just want to know the overall picture of what is Asian Hustle Network.
Yeah, so Asian Hustle Network is an online, offline community of Asian entrepreneurs and creatives around the world. And our mission statement is to become the super connectors and connect everyone together.
Nice. And why did you think something like this was actually needed?
Whew, that's a long story. I don't know where to start.
We got an hour.
we don't have to go so deep into it because we have so many episodes that we're going to be doing here.
Yeah.
But I guess just, in short, why did you think just having Asians connect and helping them was needed?
Yeah, so 4 years ago, I was looking around for a professional community because I was seeking a place where I could ask for help and ask for mentorship. I couldn't find any.
I see.
Right? But instead, I found all these groups about Asian memes, making fun of Asian culture and whatever.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't really like that, right?
That's what it is. We're always we never want to help each other. We just like making fun of each other. We're the biggest trolls online, I think.
Really?
Dude, I don't know. Asians like to talk a lot of shit.
Wow.
Just for fun, right?
Okay.
But, and he's right. I've never, ever seen anyone really help each other within the community.
There's a lot of fragmentation during that time period.
Yeah.
Right? I think that over the course of 4 years, we're going through like an Asian renaissance right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Asian organizations, especially, unfortunately, also the pandemic as well, kind of helped our community come together to be, hey, we need to put aside our differences and really support each other now.
Nice.
Dang, I didn't even know it was like that. From the outside, it seems like you guys really come together. But
I mean, I think we're definitely evolving and changing.
Yeah.
But from the past, as we're growing up, especially because our parents are immigrants and they've came from other countries, and there's so many different immigrants from these Asian countries where they're like, they think what they've done is the best in their life for their culture. So a lot of them disrespect other countries, where it's
I see.
I'm Chinese, I'm not Vietnamese, I don't like Vietnamese people, or Vietnamese people are like, I'm the best, I don't like Koreans. And there's Japanese people that some people don't like because they created wars back then. So it's like, there's just a lot of animosity back then. So I think that's why everyone's always segregated. But times have changed,
Well, how long ago did you start this?
So I started this back in November 2019, so almost 4 years ago now.
Yeah. That is so fast.
Yeah, that's
Time
super
flies,
fast.
For reals. Yeah.
When did you see it like kind of get traction?
Right off the bat.
Right off the bat?
Yeah.
Really?
Like
Oh
the
my
first
goodness.
few days, you start getting hella followers hella fast. We're like, okay, I think we found something that's needed in the community.
What do you mean? Wait, in the first few days, how many followers did you get? Did you talk about on Facebook?
Yeah, so Facebook, we started out as a Facebook group. So I think the first 3 days is like 3,000-4,000 people already joined.
Whoa.
Within a month, it was like 10,000. And within like a few months after that, it's like 20,000, 30,000. It's kind of like coming in so fast. We're like, what the heck is going on?
That's crazy.
Wait, what was the first couple posts that you like?
We started out by naming why we created the group, right? Our mission statement. We said we wanted to bring together the Asian community, and we wanted to like put an end to the fragmentation in our community. We want to support each other. The second post is, I had to lead by example. So I posted about myself, what I did, how I want to help the community, and everybody started using that format, and people started sharing their stories quickly, and it went absurd. Like the first few months, I was like, people started calling what we created like HN on whatever, and it felt weird at first because something you created started taking a life on its own, and people started using it as a noun. right? Started getting
Mm.
excited about the brand, what we represent. That's really unusual for me because I didn't come from like a marketing background or anything, right? I just came from like a normal software engineering job.
Mm.
That's crazy. So when people followed your format of posting about themselves on the Facebook group,
Mm-hmm.
were they just like, "Hey, I'm this guy. I'm X amount of years. This is what I've done, but I'm looking for more help." Like they're just looking for help themselves. Is that why they post about themselves, or?
It's both, right? They posted about things they need help with, and they also provided value back into the community as well, where
Oh,
things
I
that
see.
they're good at and what they can help with.
I see. So they're posting like, "Hey, this is what I do. I'm a professional NBA player, like
Yeah.
for example.
Yeah,
And if you guys want to learn how to get into the NBA, I'll show you the ropes,
pretty
stuff like
much.
that."
Yeah,
That's pretty
That's dope.
cool.
yeah,
Yeah. 'Cause even now, it's kind of hard to find communities like that in general.
Yeah.
Because it's all like, there's like a, what do you call it? Um, like it makes it feel like everybody's for themselves, but
Yeah.
that makes it feel like it is a community, and you guys are trying to help each other out.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's really
like it
cool.
because we
Yeah.
are in a time of social media where everyone's trying to grow themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have time to help anyone else
Mm,
unless they're making money off it, right? We see so many gurus on Instagram
yeah.
and then they're like, "Hey, let me mentor you for $400 for this,
Buy
this
my course.
class."
Buy
Yeah,
my
buy my
course.
course.
Right?
Yeah,
And that's what I like about Asian Hustle Network is that we don't go you guys don't go through that, right?
yeah. We're not like that
So
at all. We want to give as much value as we can back to this community.
that's awesome.
What do you feel like is the most important thing about the Asian Hustle Network to you?
For me, it's all about what can I do differently? How can I challenge the status quo in order to build more value for the community, right?
Mm.
Things that people haven't thought about yet. And just being a part of this last 4 years has helped me see a lot of gaps that needs to be filled still. I still think firmly that we're still at the early stages of everything and that we have a lot more work to be done.
What are some of the gaps without giving away your secrets?
It's fine, man. I'm down to share anything. I think there's still a lot of fragmentation. There's still a lot of trauma in Asian culture. There's
Yeah.
still a lot of competition, elitism,
Yeah.
different ways to divide, right? And now I'm kind of dealing with ageism as well. Where it's
Really?
like, when I speak to older organizations for advice or for help, it's, you feel that, oh, you're too young, like, know your place type of vibe,
Oh,
you
Wow.
know?
yes. Yes.
And it's like, okay, like, it's fine. Like, for me, like, I never feel disappointed about that. I just
Yeah.
feel like, okay, we have more work to be done,
Yeah.
right? Like, and
Just
then I think back to myself too, like, am I still keeping a part of my schedule available to help people,
mm,
right? Am I still responding to DMs? Am I still responding to emails? The answer is yes. It's because I truly care. I'm passionate about the community,
Yeah.
and I know that if I let my foot up a little bit, I'll lose track of how the community should grow. And that's not my intention right now. We have so much more work to be done.
Yeah. I totally get the politics of what you're saying, where you try asking other organizations for help, and I see it all the time because my parents are that older generation. My dad has a nonprofit where he helps immigrants, here in the U.S., and my mom does a lot of political work too, and so I see that from just being raised by my dad, that everything's always about respect your elders, and this guy's first in line and stuff like that. So you know I feel like there's got to be a way where you can break those barriers
Mm-hmm.
because uh, I don't know what it is. Like they don't listen, right? Everyone's hard headed at that age. But if we can tell them, like, hey, we don't have to do it that way anymore. We need help. This younger generation needs help. And at some point, you're not going to be here anymore. So why don't you help us now? Isn't that why you're here?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think that has to be broken down in those politics.
Yeah.
yeah, because even nowadays, some older people are just not in touch with the new stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? So a collaborative effort, I feel like can go a long way.
Yeah. I also feel like if the knowledge isn't transferred down properly, history just repeats itself. And
Mm.
like a lot of the new organizations just start from ground zero again, which does nothing to advance us forward, right?
What do you wish would happen?
I think we need to talk to each other. right? I think we all need to like get into one big room and just talk about anything openly,
Yeah.
right? I think there's a lot of stuff to be said, a lot of stuff to be done. And that also creates more friction as well if it's not properly moderated. Can you imagine like 50 people in a room, everyone has strong opinions, political opinions, community opinions. It has to be properly moderated. Otherwise, it would just become an argument, a
Yeah.
massive mob argument during the session. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. I can only imagine this like role leaders group meeting, and that's exactly what it is. Um, it's insane.
Have you guys had that? Like, have you had a large room where you're able to
We
have?
haven't yet. We talk about it
No.
all the time. Like we're like, dude, we need to
Woo.
get together. We need to like talk about things. We need to get things like work together. Because you find, especially recently, that I feel like, as I said earlier, there's a renaissance of Asian organizations right now. Right? It's cool to be Asian, a lot of Asian pride, but then there's a lot of repeat stuff across all organizations. A lot of competition now, right? Especially when you look at Lunar New Year's, you look at Asian, API Heritage Month. Like people are overlapping each other's events. They're not supporting it, right?
Mm.
And not just that, like the information, like how do you find out about these events unless you know someone in the organization? And when you attend a lot of these events, you realize that it's always the same people over and over.
Yeah.
So how do you instead of like saying you help the Asian community by only practically helping 1% or 2% of the community, how do you find a way to help like the other like 100%? Right?
Yeah.
Everybody, how do you create an opportunity for everybody to be a part of it? That is important to me.
And you think that's where you're gonna, I guess, right now what you guys are doing with Asian Hustle Network is a little bit different from that
Yeah.
because it is a small community that you're helping
Yeah.
like-minded, people who are trying to hustle and help each other.
Yeah.
But now you're looking at the bigger picture within like growing companies
Yeah.
and businesses.
That's right.
I think that's awesome. Junbi Matcha serves high quality matcha straight from the farms in Japan. The matcha leaves are hand picked by farmers to create the purest form of matcha straight to your cup. They currently have 5 locations around the US, 2 of them being in the LA area, which is Roland Heights and Westwood, 1 in Princeton, New Jersey, 1 in Dallas, Texas, and their newest location on the Waikiki Beach in Honolulu, Hawaii. If you don't have a Junbi near you, you can always purchase their matcha tins or pre-made packs. The most popular are the blueberry matcha and the vanilla matcha. You can just mix it with water and you'll have the same great tasting Junbi teas at the comfort of your own home. So we have a lot of questions to ask because, we've seen your company grow so fast and so big in a short amount of years. And I just want to know the man before Asian Hustle Network. Who were you? Like, what was your career before this? And how old are you?
Yeah. So right now, I'm actually turning 34
Oh
Okay.
next
wow.
month. So by the time this pod comes out, I'm already 34.
Oh
Okay.
nice.
Happy birthday.
Thank
Happy
you. Thank you.
birthday.
Yeah. So before Asian Hustle Network, I was a software engineer.
Nice.
So I did this about 10 years, and halfway through, I would say like working as a software engineer for about 5 years, I started doing real estate.
Oh
Right.
nice.
I started flipping houses. I started buying apartments. I started to realize like there's more to life than just having a 9 to 5. And
Oh.
that kind of got me down like the entrepreneurial thinking path while still having my 9 to 5.
Mhm.
Right. For me, I couldn't leave my 9 to 5 just because I have a lot of financial obligations. Support my family, support my parents. Really traditional in my family in a way where it's like the kids take care of the family, and in my situation at least, it's kind of it's a little bit tougher because not to say anything against my parents, they're really good people, but financially we were struggling like almost all my entire life, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, now we're making 6 figures, which I mean, out of college, you think that's a lot of money, and you realize quickly that you're supporting your parents on it, yourself, trying to live in the Bay Area. You're like, dude, this is not enough money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is like
for
I'm
sure.
struggling.
Living in the Bay Area like that, that's definitely not enough. That's like paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I was struggling, so I was like, okay, I need to find other sources of income.
Yeah.
So originally my intention wasn't to get into real estate. It was when I moved to the Bay Area that my roommate at the time got me into real estate. So shout out to Sean Pan.
Oh, nice. That was your roommate.
That's my roommate.
Oh,
Yeah,
dope.
yeah. So he got me into real estate. So we actually started at the same time, same day,
Wow.
same event. And it's like no one's more apples to apples than him.
Yeah.
That's
But now he's
funny.
crushing it.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
all his
he's a
videos.
killer.
Yeah. So I kind of moved on to Asian Hustle Network, but that was what it did before. Yeah.
Nice. So, when you're doing software engineer stuff, like I don't even honestly, I have never met or have a friend who does that. You know,
Yeah.
most of those people live in the Bay still. So, like,
Yeah.
what does a software engineer do?
It's really broad field, right? It's either you do backend stuff, you do web development, you work on compilers, it's you could do servers and bring up, you know, from my situation, I started out as a web developer, then made my way into a backend developer for satellites or at Boeing. And then I kind of made my way into a newer profession, which is called site reliability engineering, which means that we make sure that the company never goes down, right? And every time you're doing updates, like we have something called like zero downtime, where you make sure that even if you're doing updates, the website's still functional and it's still running, and suddenly there's new features that integrate into the website.
Oh, that's pretty
And the
cool.
reason why I did that because I was on like payscale.com or something. I was like, software engineering is right here, but this new job profession pays right here. I'm gonna switch to that role and get paid
Yeah.
more. It's not
Yeah.
because I
Smart.
liked it, because I was like, okay, I can make more money.
Was it a
Right.
pretty smooth transition?
It was pretty most things in life. It was pretty hard at first
Oh,
because you
okay.
have to convince people around you that you are reliable and that you're dependable and you can learn fast.
Yeah.
So it took me a few tries to like switch over.
Mm.
But it always takes one person, one company to take a chance on you, and you learn all the ropes. And now you have that job title, and it's super easy to like find that job for the next time.
Mm.
What did you do before software engineering?
Oh man, what did I do?
Because we came from the same place. You said you moved to San Francisco during that time, and I
Yeah,
know you're, born and raised in the SGV, San
yeah,
Gabriel Valley area,
yeah.
and you went to San Gabriel High School
I
or
went to Gabrielino High
Gabrielino.
School. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So talking about segregations and things like that, when I went to Arcadia High, I was like, I hate Gabrielino people and San Gabriel
What?
people.
You think you're better than us?
No,
I was kidding.
there's just always like Asian gangs there at that time, and so many fights, and now you
Yeah.
just hate those cities overall, and like
Yeah.
it's just really bad, right? But what were you doing out of high school in that area? Because I haven't, like I said, I haven't met people from our area who's been so successful in software engineering before.
Yeah. Well, I think my graduating class had a lot of doctors that graduated during that year.
What college was this?
It was high school.
Oh,
So
high
my high
school.
school friend.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of
Mm.
doctors from Gabrielino.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. One of my closest friends, Patrick. He's a doctor right now. Yeah.
Wow, I'm from Arcadia, where they say is like the best Asian school in like America, and I don't know any doctors from my class. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, there is other activities. Well aware of it, right? Just grow up in an area where it's like you kind of know who's a part of what know who to avoid. Your EQ is a lot higher
Yeah,
just because you're like interacting it. You're like, okay, this is how. Like, you're just eating like a normal meal. You know how it is. So you eat like Garden Cafe or something, and you're like, oh yeah, I know that guy who's in that affiliate with that. But it's
yeah,
weird if I just walk and not say hi. So I have to say hi.
You're right.
You have to know your inner politics growing up because you don't want your ass kicked.
Right.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things I hated the most, and especially in another episode where you talk about how there's so much politics within the Asian community,
Yeah.
and so you always have to show face.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like an Asian mafia movie, except it's high school. You're like, oh man. And for sure, like it's like a bunch of 17 or 16-year-olds with tattoos already.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary back then.
Yeah. That's crazy.
yeah, that describes a little bit of me right there.
Wait, you were 16, 17 with tattoos?
I was 18 with tattoos,
Okay,
but
I
I
mean,
was like
you're legal.
Yeah.
like 14, 15 with like earrings and like
Oh, yeah.
like 6 piercings, things like that.
Yeah, that's not scary.
I'm really curious about the real estate part of it.
Yeah.
What was like your first purchase or
Yeah.
flip or whatever?
So my first flip was in LA. This is back in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
It's like long story short, I went to this website called biggerpockets.com.
Okay, yeah,
And at that time, like I didn't know shit about real estate. Like no one really taught me anything.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And every time I read books, it's like really incomplete. Or you meet people, they give you like incomplete information. So I
Yeah, yeah.
realized like, okay, I need to get over my hump. I spent 2 years networking, learning. Like I need to like overcome my fears and do my first deal.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Bigger Pockets. I saw this guy doing a deal in one of the forums. So he looked like a dependable guy, you know, who's answering everyone's questions. I DM him randomly and I was like, hey, like, let's do a deal together. Right. And he's like, oh, yeah, I have a project in South LA that's coming up. Do you want to be a part of it? And then within meeting him and then wiring the money and everything was like 2 days.
Are you serious?
Wow.
How much money were you wiring this guy?
It started out with 25,000.
Oh
Oh,
my
And
god.
then as the
wow.
project escalated, it was like, 75, which is like, at the time was a lot. I was like 26
Yeah.
or something, you know?
So was there even agreements and contracts within those 2
Oh
days?
yeah, there was agreement, but it was like looking back so flimsy.
Yeah, I mean, like I think at
It
that
sounds
age,
crazy.
I don't even know how to read contracts like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's like I will only care about something if my skin's in the game,
Yeah.
right? And at the time, the money was astronomically large for me. Where it's like, oh my god, I almost saved $100,000. I was panicking. I was like, dude, like, what am I gonna do if I lose this?
Yeah.
And I told myself that everything is relative, right? You may think it's a lot right now, but you always make that money back if you lose it. Knowledge is more important. I don't know
Oh, I see
why
what
I
you
was
mean.
thinking it that way, but this is me at 26.
Yeah.
I was like, my life, I'm going to do a lot more in my life. I'm going to make a lot more. I had to take this risk. Otherwise, I won't learn. Good or bad, I learn a good lesson from it.
And,
Right?
right. And what happened with that deal?
It went pretty well. It, you know, I against all advice, like please do not follow my footsteps. Like I just got really lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So we did this project in 6 to 8 months. And we sold it for a net profit of like 300,000.
So it was a fixer-upper.
It's a fixer upper.
Just a one single unit.
Yeah. It's crazy because if we would have held onto that unit right now or that house, it'd be like 1.6 or something.
Wow.
And keep in mind that 2015, 2016, 2017 in South LA, like you pick up a house out there for like 300 or 400K,
Yeah.
right? So we picked it up for like 372.
Wow.
We sold it for like 7 something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is crazy. So like the money that you were wiring him, was it all for like the repairs and all that?
Repairs, escrow, all these, all these things, but got into it, found myself really addicted. I'm, oh my God, I made my salary in like 6 months or 7 months,
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
So so we did 1 or 2 more together in LA. And then we finally had enough money to go back to the Bay Area to like flip houses there. That's
Why
where I
did-
was living there anyways.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So
So I
you-
was flipping in LA first because I couldn't find anything that's made any sense in the Bay. And every
Oh.
fixer upper is like over $1 million.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford it. It's like, dude, my 75K like would not even buy a doorknob here. What the hell's
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
do
crazy.
you continue to mess around with real estate, or you
Not
kind of
as
slow down?
much. Yeah. When I transitioned over to Asian Hustle Network, real estate was a little bit on the back burner side.
Mm.
Just because when I transitioned to AHN, I left my job. So that kind of forced me to like just focus on the AHN because I didn't have, and the real estate game has a lot of holes,
Yeah.
right? I didn't have the W-2 income to secure loans, right?
Mm.
Even though there's money, right? I didn't have enough to like leverage anything. So in that 2 years, I was waiting to like file my new income underneath AHN to continue buying houses again. I just focused on AHN.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And we kind of touched on this on the last one, but how long ago did you start AHN?
Yeah, so I started this almost 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And-
November 2019.
Okay. And did you foresee it getting as big as it is now?
I did. I kind of had a feeling that this was going to be something big.
Mm-hmm.
And when prior to launching, we did a lot of planning as well. What we wanted to look like, what we wanted it to do. I thought it was going to take a few years for it to even grow. I didn't think it was going to take weeks or months.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
It was
insane.
like holy moly, like grew pretty fast.
Like
Mhm.
how,
They
how
step
did
up.
how did people even find the Facebook group on the first day in the first week?
So we started out by just inviting our friends to join.
Oh, I
And we kind
see.
of told them about the mission, and they started inviting their friends, becoming like a network effect
Yeah.
really quickly. Um, People started talking about it. They get really excited about it, and it just rapidly grew. It's crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's insane.
Well, thank you for creating that, and even thinking of something like this. I think everyone appreciates you and Asian Hustle Network.
I think it's
Um,
really cool to hear your backstory too, like where you started and getting
Yeah.
into real estate and then going into that.
it's so
Yeah.
relatable.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really cool.
You're just a normal human being who just made things great, man.
Yeah.
So thank
Just
you.
gotta try new things. Put yourself out there. Don't be afraid.
It's kind of inspiring actually because I feel like I'm scared of doing things. It takes me a long time to make decisions. So like hearing your story, I'm like, bro, I need to start, especially the real estate thing. Like you just wanted to attack
Yeah.
it. You're like, it's finally time to make those moves.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, it might be time for me to buy something or
Yeah.
Was that your like all in or nothing type of move that you did?
Uh, Sort of. Yeah. That was probably the most risky thing I've done in real estate. Is I I read a lot of books, talked to a lot of people, and I felt ready, right? I felt like I understood the lingo, but there's a part of it where at that time I felt like a poser because I've been going out to like meetups and conferences, and like I know everybody in the industry at this point.
And you had
I
nothing.
had nothing to show for it, and I
mm-hmm.
wanted to like get my hands dirty and like really learn how to do things,
Yeah.
right? Spending time at Home Depot, looking at paint colors, looking
Yeah.
at like Pinterest for art designs, figuring out the hard way that, oh yeah, I should put in the cabinets for the floor, or the floor for the cabinets. You're like, fuck,
Yeah.
why is the floor crooked? You're like, shit, or like just forgetting that the city, or you have different rules for different cities. Where it's
Mm-hmm.
like, some parts the city requires they come into the house and check it for inspection to sign off on it. And then sometimes you forget about that. You already like painted the walls and everything. The city's, hey, we got cut a hole here. Like,
Yeah.
fuck.
You got to
You
redo it.
know?
Yep.
Yeah. So all these like stupid mistakes start adding up. I'm like, oh my god. Okay, I'm learning not to do this. Do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
that's
so
all
cool.
great knowledge, especially since you didn't know anything about housing, real estate, and all that. So that's,
Yeah.
I think you learned that pretty quick.
Yeah. You learn that pretty quick. When your money's on the line and you want to make something happen, you're on a time crunch. When you have money on the line, man, you're gonna make it happen.
Yeah, you figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the most popular matcha tin. It gives you the energy you need to prepare for your day without the crash, mainly because of its high quality. Make your own matcha at home with their daily ceremonial grade matcha. All you have to do is scoop, whisk, and enjoy. So, this matcha tin is 100% pure shade grown, finely milled matcha. It's sourced from a 100-year-old farm in Japan. It pairs deliciously with other ingredients, and it fuels you to prepare daringly for your adventures ahead. I kind of want to learn a little bit more about how this big company became what it is, right? And because I think what's fascinating is how fast it grew. And so even, I want to back it up way before all of that. There's a point in time in your life when you're probably going through something, right? And so I'm trying to figure out, or I want to know, what was going on in your life when you thought you needed an Asian hustle network or something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't what I personally needed in my life. I was just thinking about to what was missing in our community, right? And I just kept thinking back to, so my roommate back in college was Jewish, and I saw how close knit the Jewish community was, and I was really inspired by that. And it's funny because he asked me like, "Isn't the Asian community just as tight?" And I would just chuckle. I was like, no, like we hate each other. you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like the thing that we always see at the time was there's no one that hates the Asian community more than the Asian community, right? And we're so divided. So during that time of my life, I was in a really good position because my real estate business was taking off. I started looking and hedging myself into purchasing long-term properties like apartments, right? Multi units, started doing pretty well. And it's crazy because I think once you're able to take care of your immediate needs, your mind kind of opens up to what can I do to help other people, right? I know it sounds corny, I know it sounds cliche, but that was literally on my mind, like when I was creating Asian Hustle Network with the intention of like, what can I do to like help the community advance forward, right? And to go deeper into that, like it wasn't until I went on a trip with my co-founder Maggie, right? My co-founder Asian Hustle Network to Japan that I realized that the biggest factor in bringing together a community is storytelling. When you're able to share your story and understand that we're not different from each other, that's when we set aside our differences and really like put our heads together and work together, right? I think at the time, and I just remember back to my experience in real estate where whenever I ran into trouble, like my partners were like Taiwanese or Korean, they can always rely on like the Taiwanese community or the Korean community or myself, the Vietnamese community to help me or help us out. But why is it only pertaining to a person's race? What if like we all help each other and not just say I'm Vietnamese, I'm Korean, Chinese, whatever. I'm just Asian American or I'm just a person, right? How do we get people to put aside our differences and work together from that standpoint was sort of became my mission, right? I was at the point in my life where it sounds really weird and arrogant in some ways, where I felt like money was no longer the most important thing to me, right? And
Mm-hmm.
when money was no longer important, you kind of just go through the motions of just making money, and it's not as fun or as thrilling. It didn't give me purpose, right? I was seeking purpose at the time, up to the point where I literally was soul searching. I was borderline depressed.
Oh no.
Right. I needed to like have a bigger purpose in life of what I wanted to do, what I wanted to see happen. And that was the Asian community. I think a large factor of it, as Anthony mentioned, is that we grew up in the 626. Right. We've seen the ups and downs, the fragmentations, we've seen the community so divided, so angry, so much hatred. You're like, okay, I want to do something about this. And that became my focus.
So you were talking about how you and your co-founder Maggie went on this trip to Japan.
Yeah.
What happened on the trip to made you think that this was needed?
Yeah, yeah. So we went to the Meiji Shrine, which is a
Okay.
temple in Tokyo. And then during that trip, we saw people write their stories on wooden tablets on the wall and hang it up.
What kind of stories were on there?
It was everything from I just graduated high school, I don't know where my life is going, I just fought cancer, I just got cancer, my parents just passed away. It's just all over the
Wow.
range.
Yeah.
And then I found myself really captivated by these stranger stories.
Yeah.
Right? I spent like 2-3 hours, Maggie as well, just reading everyone's story because it was so relatable.
And were these all Japanese people writing it?
It was a mixture,
Just
Mm.
people from
right?
all over the world, like
All over,
tourists.
yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah. People are like, oh, I'm from Paris, I'm from whatever
Yeah.
country, right?
Yeah.
And it's just so like, wow, like I don't even know these people, but yeah, I'm so enthralled by their story, and you kind of, you chuckle a little bit as you're reading it. Oh, like I just graduated high school, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh yeah, like I didn't know what I was doing. Kind
Yeah.
Yeah.
of brings back those memories, and it's like I just fought cancer. You're like, oh, here I am, like depressed for no reason. This person just
Uh,
fought cancer. You feel like a jerk, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that sort of became like the foundation of AHN, and I knew how powerful storytelling was from the way that I felt it firsthand. And immediately, like we pulled out our phones and we like took a picture. We wrote a note. Like we wanted this is gonna be the basis of anything we built in the future, and we didn't know like what the community would be like yet, but we knew that it would be built around storytelling first.
I think what's key to that moment was you guys actually taking it all in by taking that photo and writing it down.
Yeah,
Because right there, no one does that. They're gonna be like, wow, you know what? I just thought of a really great idea. I'm motivated, I'm inspirational. When I get back from this trip, I'm gonna do this.
yeah,
Without that photo and writing it down. And then
yeah,
when they get home, do they ever do that? I mean, they try sometimes and it
Yeah.
fails. And I think that's so key that you did that.
yeah. That's my real estate habit at that point. right? That's why I learned from real estate, where it's, oh no, this thing is broken. Gotta take a picture and write a note so I can know what model to buy at the Home Depot later.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you, real estate. Yeah.
So then from that moment, from that picture and all that stuff, what
Yeah.
was like the first initial thing that got everything moving?
Yeah. So we had to decide what medium to start off with. Right. We looked around. We're like, should we start Instagram first? Should we start Twitter first? Like, what is the rage right now? And this is during the time where subtle Asian traits was popping off. Right. Facebook group was popping off. We're like, okay, we gotta start a Facebook group. Why? Because it allows people to interact freely and share their stories freely without much moderation. Right. So that sort of became like the first thing we focus on is like, okay, what makes it easiest for us to implement this idea where we don't know, or if we don't know for sure it's going to work or not.
I love listening to this part of your stories because for me, whenever I try to start a business, and I would say the last 15 years of my life, I've been wanting to start a nonprofit on how to help people, right? And I haven't gotten to that point yet because I never figured out what is that thing I want to do to help people, right? Whether it's like kids with no parents or families, homeless, just anything, right? And so hearing that you took the organization straight to a Facebook group to social media is so out of the box thinking. Because most people, when they want to start a business and help someone, they legit start an LLC, then they start, marketing for it and whatever. It's an actual business and company. But you went straight to Facebook. Like
Yeah.
that was so simple, makes so much sense and smart, but no one ever thinks of that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
I think it's where I got most of it from my software engineering background. We have something called MVP model, minimal viable product, which means just get out your idea as fast as and simple as possible and kind of test to see if it works, right? Because the worst thing you can do is waste your time, and time is valuable. So put it out there, whether or not it's perfected or not, whether or not it's good or not, kind of see the reaction and revise from there. Yeah.
My God, I am so inspired right now.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
I'm about to test a bunch of stuff right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, we're gonna go on
I'm just
Facebook
kidding.
right after this.
No, but that is pretty interesting that you went to Facebook, because
Yeah.
like at least for me, I feel like Facebook is where a lot of older people hang out, kind of thing. So I'm just curious, like, why Facebook? Why was
Yeah.
it like Instagram seems to be where everybody's hanging out, things like
Yeah.
Snapchat or Instagram or maybe even Twitter, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But Facebook is like where my grandpa hangs out.
I mean, Facebook now, it's much different from Facebook 4 years ago.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Really, I feel like 4 years ago was still the same. I still didn't use it much 4 years ago. I've already kind of stopped. Once Instagram
Yeah.
came, I already stopped Facebook.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But we kind of capitalized on like the Facebook group momentum. Subtle Asian trades was like hitting like 1 or 2 million pretty fast within 6 months. So like, okay, let's just follow the trend,
Yeah.
right? No need to reinvent the wheel or make things harder for ourselves. Let's follow what works, and then from there, branch out strategically and as fast as possible because nothing's ever guaranteed, right? With my software engineering background, I've seen countless friends who started companies on other people's platforms that ultimately failed, right? And we're seeing that right now with Reddit, right? Reddit started charging, these third party people absurd amount of monthly fees, and companies are dying. And they have like a protest right now, right? And I've seen that happen not just recently, but I've seen like 4 or 5 years ago, where people built like Facebook gaming platforms. They got screwed over by Apple, screwed over by Facebook. Now so I was like, okay, we gotta branch over to something that we can control, which is the website. Yeah.
I feel like also it was such a good idea because, like Justin was saying, his grandpa and older people are the ones on Facebook,
Yeah.
but yet these are the people who have all the time in the world to tell their stories, to listen to stories, to read them. So it's like Asian Hustle Network has no age. There's no age limits, right?
Yeah.
And I think when it first started, when I first saw, pictures of the people at the events, I did see older people actually,
Yeah.
very successful people who are been doing something for so long here to talk about themselves. So, these are people with like they've done real estate for 10 years or they've done another business for 10 years. So, yeah, they probably are older people to where they're not doing owner operated things anymore. Or there are the older people like my parents who would, you know, will take the time to talk about some history for a little bit.
Yeah.
So, Facebook is the perfect place for storytelling. You don't really tell stories on Instagram. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's just quick pictures. Now it gets even faster ever since TikTok came out, right?
Yeah.
You're just doing like 2 dance moves and that's it. It's
I
like
gotta
no
learn how to
storytelling.
dance. I still haven't learned how to dance yet.
Still haven't learned how to dance yet.
Maybe we'll do one for our Instagram.
Oh boy.
Bust out the moves. So this is now like international, right?
Yeah. We have events at this point in 7 or 8 different countries now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a question I have for you. Asian Hustle Network, right?
Yeah.
Keyword Asian,
Yes.
right? And you hold events in Las Vegas, LA, Seattle, all across the United States,
Yeah.
right? Because we're Asian American and we're trying to help each other. So you're trying to build that community.
Yeah.
Now that you're international and you're going to like, Singapore and Thailand and just all these and Vietnam,
Yeah.
to me, I'm like, wait, why are you going to Asia when they're full of Asians? Aren't they already connected? So how does this community in America work in Asia with Asians?
Yeah. That's a great question. That's something that we thought about a lot. I think the Asian community is very isolated in America, where when I'm back here, I feel it myself where you don't really know what's going on around the world. Right? I'm not sure if it's an Asian American thing or not. We just are oblivious to the world, right?
Yeah.
And I realized that there's a lot of misconceptions about Asians in Asia. Like as Asian Americans, sometimes we think we're better. Sometimes we think we're more privileged. But I want to like level out the playing field a bit and really connect the world together, right? Because I feel like there's so much resources, investments, opportunities that if we are able to connect the Asians around the world together, we can unlock the next level of potentials for the Asian community, right? That's what I think about all the time. And the same problem exists in Asia. So basically, whenever we're in the country, we have events, everyone kind of sticks to like their own country and they never refer to themselves to Asians, right? So at first, we thought that our target audience in Asia are Asians that, don't speak English and it's okay. Then we realized that quickly that won't work. We found a new sub audience to cater to. So basically, they are third culture kids, and what that means is they went to international schools in their own country. They went to college in like the UK, US, Australia, and they come back to their country and they're perfect English speakers, right? But then they don't have a community out there that they could come to for help or relate to because when they come back, they're just kind of conflicted in some ways because they are Asian. They're born in Asia. They're born in their country, but yet they have a lot of Western thoughts, Western knowledge. They don't want to work for a traditional Asian company. And if you guys didn't know, like Asian companies, it's different from American companies,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
The work culture is different. It's harsher. They kind of expect you to like do everything, almost like serve like a master or a king in some way. And having some Western philosophies that doesn't serve well. So the biggest thing that we're trying to solve right now, it's like, how do we allow Asian Americans, Asian Australians, Asian Canadians to like come in, create more companies in these countries, leverage the workforce, evolve the country, evolve the people, hire them, and not just that. How do we help these Asians in Asia become entrepreneurs through the knowledge? Because as we are branching out there, there's a lot of missing structures, right? The mentality is not quite there yet, depending which country you go to. Some companies like Singapore or whatnot are super developed, right? They understand as a founder, you get your investments, you grow your company, and then you seek an exit during an IPO or an acquisition. When you go to a developing country like Vietnam, for example, the mentality is a little bit different because they want to start a company, do really well, but then you have to keep in mind that Vietnam is going through the first investment cycle right now. And what does that mean? It means that Vietnam has only had like one or two IPO in the history of the country, which it's relatively new. The whole idea of startups is really new. So our goal right now, it's like, how do we get more people to shed that scarcity mentality? Right now, it's literally like a wild west out there. It's like winner takes all. To like think about IPOs, think about acquisitions, think about like you can do big things too. And looking at the pace in Asia right now, the adoption rate is like super fast, right? Like credit card payments only occurred in Vietnam 2 years ago, but now it's everywhere,
Oh wow.
right? And like we go to like the subway system in Korea or like Japan or something or Singapore, it's eons ahead of America,
Mm.
right? And it's like, okay, how do we get Asian Americans to stop thinking we're the best, to finally open up and reconnect with our own heritage and find a way that we build an ecosystem where that we truly stay close to our mission. Asian Hustle Network is a super connector of Asian entrepreneurs around the world, right? How do we find that bridge that connects everybody is our next goal.
Dude, I see a big difference between us in America and the ones in Asia. I mean, basically, everyone that's here in America, they're like, how do I do this? How do I get there? Because they all have the vision themselves already on what they want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in Asia, you're trying to find the people and teach them this is what needs to happen in Vietnam. This is
Mm-hmm.
what needs to happen in, these Asian countries.
Yeah.
And I do have those handful of friends from high school who immediately left America and went to live in Hong Kong, Thailand, things like that.
Yeah.
And they've stayed there since high school. And they're perfectly, American speaking, born here in America. They just
Yeah.
chose not to live here anymore for some reason.
Yeah.
And all those people are out there. And those are the ones that I think is a niche for Asian Hustle Network,
Yeah.
Mm.
right? And
That's
that's
right.
just my Asian American friends. You got the Asian Canadians, Asian Australians,
Yeah.
the ones from Europe, just everywhere.
Yeah. And also the Asians in Asia that went to international schools,
Yeah.
right? And don't underestimate anybody. That's my new mentality. Like there's super smart, talented people everywhere, right? Just because your upbringing is slightly different doesn't mean you're better or worse than anybody. We're all human beings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's like the talent, the conversations, the intellectual discussions, the idea exchanges. I would say that no matter where I went, I was always really blown away by the people, right? It doesn't matter if I was in Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, whoever. They know a lot more about business and how the world works than most average Asian Americans or most average Americans in general.
Mm.
Yeah.
This is the matcha whisk. It's electric. It's very convenient to use. The electric matcha whisk is a fun, easy way to make matcha in a flash when you don't have the time or the space to break out your entire set. So you can still enjoy smooth, frothy matcha in just seconds, no matter where you are. So this is the bamboo matcha whisk. It's the most traditional way to make your matcha every morning. It'll help elevate it. It's a ritual that they used to do, and this is a 100-prong traditional bamboo matcha whisk. And it's foldable, so you can take it on the go. Very easy to use. I actually love using this. It's just makes the whole experience that much better. And then this ladle is the way I use to actually get the serving size for the matcha. I get the right amount by using this ladle, put it into the bowl, and I start whisking away. And just like that, by adding some water, it's ready to drink. So visit one of the locations near you so you can get some matcha, try it out. And if you guys aren't near any of the locations, go to junbishop.com. You can use our promo code WINNING to get 10% off anything on the website. I think this is a great way for you guys to really try this instead of using anything else for caffeine, such as sodas, coffees, pre-workouts. This is very clean. I do this myself and I love it. Now, at this point in your life, you have this Facebook group, and how fast has it grown in the first 6 months?
Up to like 30,000, 60,000, 40. Yeah, 30, 60. I forgot the exact number, but something absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just from friends sharing posts about, their life.
That's right. Yeah.
And so, how does it go from a small Facebook group to now being like, we need help and we need to start hiring people?
Yeah.
Like, what happened
Yeah.
to get to that point?
It took a lot of time, right? A lot of planning. Like people kept asking us, like, what is next for the network? It's great what you built, but it doesn't seem as sustainable, right? And we knew that ourselves too. Like nothing lasts forever. I don't know why that phase kept popping in my head during when everyone's like, "Oh, you built something great. It's growing so fast." But for me, it's like it's gonna die if I don't continue building on top of it. I need to like do more,
So
right?
at this point, it was only a Facebook group where it was just people were blogging,
Yeah,
essentially.
that's right.
And now you're turning blogging into something else.
Exactly. I always tell people if we could choose a different business or a different business model, like this probably this is probably one of the harder things to choose, right? Because we weren't sure what our clear product was,
Yeah.
right? How do we keep ourselves sustainable?
Because there was no product yet. It was literally
Yeah,
people blogging.
yeah,
So how do you even turn that into a business?
exactly. So we kind of explored everything in the book in terms of like, okay, what if we start producing content? What if we start asking people in the community to share their stories? So we started a podcast, right? And that started doing really well. Then we realized, okay, what else do we want to do? Or more, the better question to ask ourselves is, what does the community want? And they wanted more events, right? So
What did you do? How did you even know that? You just asked everyone in the Facebook group
yeah, I
what did
used
they
to just
want?
ask directly into the Facebook group, what do you guys want?
Yeah.
As simple as that. I learned to not assume. I just asked them, what do you guys want? Everyone's always like, we want more mastermind sessions, we want mentorships, we need investments, we want more events. And each one of the suggestions became our pillars,
Yeah.
right? Because instead of assuming what the community wanted, we asked them what they wanted.
Right.
And when we started running more events, we had opportunities to talk to more people, right? We started running more events. We realized that it quickly became our content to host, like to get even more people engaged with the community. And there's something beautiful about bringing a group of people together that believe into your mission. So they want to meet each other, they want to help each other, they want to uplift each other, right? And we just had to build more of that. That's when we realized that, our first few events, after we realized how much work it was to create any event,
Yeah.
right? My joke was like, at the time, I think we did like the first few months, we did like 6 or 7 events, which is a lot, by the
Yeah,
way.
that's a
Yep.
lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my joke at the time was like, "Oh, it's like getting married every week."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it felt like. Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when we realized that we needed help, right? We need event organizers, we needed editors, we needed planners, but at first we relied a lot on volunteer help. So volunteer help really helped us like get off the gate, really build more stability. But then you quickly realize that if people aren't compensated for their time, like they quickly fall off pretty fast,
Yeah.
right? So these volunteers, although they helped us out a lot, weren't completely reliable because they would just drop out last minute as they were like creating the event.
So let me take it back for a time when you were going to your very first event, right? So you're
Yeah,
like, okay, everyone wants an event, so you create your first one.
yeah,
But there's this whole business model missing in between that we have no idea of.
yeah,
Like how did you set it up? Where did the workers come from? Were these
yeah.
all volunteers at
All
that point? All
volunteers.
volunteers.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's how the community is amazing with that sense, right? And we asked for everything from venues for free, speaking for free, food,
Yeah.
production, camera, because we had no budget. We had no income. Like,
So you didn't use any of your personal money at all. It was just everything was done free.
uh, I use a little bit of my personal money in terms of like getting like the name tags, the lighting, paying some photographers, ordering some of the food. Because I felt bad because whenever we asked for food from mom and pop shops, coming from my background, I knew like we're asking for so much.
These are the
Yeah.
people you're trying to help, and
Yeah,
you're asking for free stuff.
I know. So I felt contradictory. So I spent my own money. I think it sounds crazy at the time. Like I probably spent like almost $10,000 on my own money
On the first event.
of the first couple events.
Okay.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
kind of get things going. Right, but then I never paid myself back for that. I
Mm-hmm.
just was like, okay, like this is for the community. And then I realized how unsustainable that was,
Yeah.
right? As soon as I committed to this doing full time, because I was like, okay, this is taking too much of my time. I need to travel. I need to meet more people. This is an opportunity I don't want to miss. When I started dipping into my savings while I left my job, that was like, oh shoot, we need to figure out a sustainable model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess now, how did you make a sustainable model and actually get income?
Yeah, yeah. So we make our income through two models. So one is through sponsorships. So obviously having a podcast like this really helps a lot. I didn't realize how lucrative podcasts can be,
Mm-hmm.
right? Especially when you have a target audience, target niche. Like companies really love to like reach your audience. So that's one thing. The other thing is we have a corporate membership model. And what this means is our leverage has always been, we never really want to charge our community members unless it's like a big event. Like for people that don't know, like hosting annual conference in Vegas is like not profitable at all. You're like
Why is that?
lucky to break even every single time, right? These massive events are like the venue costs a lot of money, production costs a lot of money,
Yeah.
speaker fees, hotels, whatever. Like it's never profitable, but it's for the community and it has to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And have you ever thought about, since you have real estate background, to purchase properties to hold events at?
Oh yeah, I know. I think about it all the time. I think about it all the time. It just right opportunity hasn't come my way yet.
Yeah.
But I thought about like opening up like a coffee shop.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
during the day it's like a boba thing, and then at night there's like events. You can rent out venues,
Right.
and then being a part of the community space and hosting more events. I didn't realize there's so many communities that host events and need venues.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many. I think this one time we hosted an event, and it's almost like judging like a wedding. You have to book it ahead of time. But like the one time we hosted an event, we realized like there's like this European network event, and there's like this like for moms networking event. Everybody needed a venue. We're like, oh man, if only things fell into place, I would totally get like like a boba shop that's big enough to host like these
Yeah.
events, and it
It
make it sustainable during the day because you're selling boba.
Yeah.
it's almost like you need a food hall where
Yeah,
they're open in the day and the food hall closes at night, and
yeah,
now you have the events at night, because
yeah,
that's the size I picture now for Asian
yeah,
Hustle Network.
yeah. The events are pretty big,
Mm.
right? And they have grown to a number and a rate where I never imagined it to be, right? We have big idols, CEOs that I looked up to in the past are reaching out to me, hey, you want to collaborate? I was like, no freaking way, this can't be true. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the power of events, power of community. But it comes down to keeping yourself aligned with your initial mission because you don't want to be in a position where you get distracted by every single opportunity.
Yeah.
It gets nowhere. It burns your energy. You get burnt out. You get tired. So most powerful thing is figuring out what is your North Star. What are you trying to do? Is everything you're creating center around that North Star? And are you okay saying no to even the shiniest opportunities? Right? Like, darn, it doesn't fit well with her roadmap. I gotta say no to that.
Mm-hmm. So like, what was the most important position that you hired that took your business to the next level?
Yeah, yeah. What was I think we made it's not one position, it was multiple,
Mm.
right? I think the first one was our content manager. That was very, very important because it
Yeah.
actually helped us scale into Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And you realize that someone who's been doing this professionally for such a long time probably knows a lot more than you,
Oh yeah.
right? So when hiring this person, like our YouTube blew up to 27,000 subscribers in like a month.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, it's just knowing like the right technique, right algorithm, people who study the game, right, and trusting their abilities to execute was important. And then realizing as a leader, you can't do everything, but instead you should focus on things that one you're good at and two you enjoy doing, and kind of like delegate it to your team that they enjoy doing the things that you don't like to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like for me, it's like I kind of know how to edit videos, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
Right? So I like we have video editors to take care of that, and that's their passion. Right? That's
Mm-hmm.
what they love to do. So it's just figuring it out as a leader, like what do you enjoy doing, what do you like to do, and what will grow the company. Just focus on those three things.
So, I think a lot of people never understand what is the biggest factor that will take your business to the next level, and it's always marketing.
Yeah,
Whether you own a small business, whether it's an online place, whether it's a liquor store or a laundromat, marketing, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
that will take you just need more eyes, right?
Content's king.
So, all of these people that you hired, now they're no longer volunteers,
Yeah,
right? And are these people that were within the community already, or did you have to outsource outside of the group?
It's a mixture of both, right? You gotta leverage your own community for help because they understand your mission really well.
Yeah.
And then we hire outside help because we wanted new perspectives. Like I think once you're in an organization or doing for something for too long, you kind of lose sight of what your mission is. And every time we bring someone new up from outside the organization, they always question like, what are you guys trying to do? Why are we doing this? And that
Yeah.
helps us at least refine the North Star every single time because running an organization, running a company, it's a living thing. And if you don't constantly change and evolve and reevaluate every 3 or 4 months, you're not going to be able to adapt to new times.
Mm.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So, what were some of the roles that you were taking on at the beginning, and then now, like, what do you do?
Oh man, everything. Everything from webmaster to editing to doing my own scheduling, finding speakers, managing my own social media, making sure that I fly out to every single event, and everything, dude. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a
Mm.
lot about what I can do. Then I learned quickly that energy is finite, right? I was able to do this like the first 2 years, like, oh yeah, I love this thing. And then after the first 2 years, I went through like the biggest burnout of my life, where it's like, why am I doing all of this? My
Yeah.
life was so much easier before,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's when you start looking into, shoot, how do I make this more sustainable,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then for me right now, is like the things I love to do is I love to network, I love to host events, I love to meet new people, I love to brainstorm, redefine the vision. Those are things I personally love to do. So when I'm do this, these things, I'm in my zone of genius where it doesn't feel like work to me, right? It feels like I'm progressing forward as a person, as an organization, and we're doing something meaningful for society and leaving a legacy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Before, it was like when I was doing everything, it was, I don't have enough time. I'm always constantly stressed out. The work quality wasn't quite there. We weren't delivering the highest of our abilities. So delegation was a big thing I had to learn to let go. Like, I can't do everything.
Right. But the hardest part, this is the part that everybody stops with their business, right? It's like they know that, but where do they get the money for it?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest hump that everyone needs to get over.
Yeah.
And I think for you, you're saying at this time you were shelling out your own money,
Yeah.
and I think that's what everyone does. They 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 quit their jobs, they start putting their own money in, and they just kind of go all in.
Yep. So that's why I started with my own money to kind of build more traction. And then I started looking to raising money as well and building it as an actual company. So
I
we
I thought
raised, yeah, go
I
ahead.
thought the raising money was for events. Once you got bigger, right,
Yeah.
and you're holding events like 6 times a year, you
Yeah.
needed money to hold events.
Yeah.
But then what about the money for editors, content people, and
Yeah.
things like
Yeah.
that?
So the way Asian Hustle Network is structured is that we have a nonprofit arm and we have a for-profit arm as well, right? So the for-profit arm focuses on our media side, which is our YouTube or Instagram or podcast and whatnot. And we produce content strictly for that, and we label as a media company. So we got investors to invest into the media arm, right? So whatever we recur from our podcasts or ads or membership, whatever, that builds revenue in that for our future or current investors actually. But it took a lot of people taking a chance on us at the very beginning,
Yeah.
right? Like we end up raising $650,000
Wow.
for our company, and we did that in a relatively short amount of time.
That takes really special people because I've been in the YouTube game for about 8 years now, and
Yeah,
I know what the money is like if you're not big.
yeah,
It sucks. And a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
think you make a lot of money on YouTube and things like that, but you don't. You
yeah,
really don't, guys. And so for people who are not in the game to want to invest in that, that is so difficult to do because right now, as I'm listening to this and I'm 8 years in, I'm like, shit, like I don't even see any return right now because you really don't make much. It's basically just off sponsorships. So how I can see everything with YouTube and the money that comes in and how it's not so great. I applaud all of your investors because they took such a risk, but it's such a well worth risk. And you guys are growing so fast right now, continuously and consistently. where do you see Asian Hustle Network in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think for me, I see it operating as an ecosystem, right? For me, it's like, is there a place for everybody in their journey? Whether you're just starting out or in the middle of it or you have made it, is there a place for you in the community? And how do you give back, right? I think we can all agree that everybody at one point just wants to give back to their community or help other people, but there needs to be a clear way of doing it. And I think that Asian Hustle Network is building that so that future generation can kind of come to us and be like, hey, I'm just starting out. I made it. I'm in the process. There's a place, time and place for everybody to feel like they belong to something greater.
I feel like, you're saying how having conventions or events in Vegas is pretty much at cost or losing money sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like because your community is growing so fast that within 5 years, I see you holding convention at Mandalay Bay Convention Center for 100,000 people. I think right now you guys just started. You're in
Yeah.
the 4th year, and you guys have how many people are in your going to your events right now?
So we have about 1,000 people.
1,000 people. That's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
And so I do see at one point you might have 100,000 Asians going to your event.
Yeah. Well, that's what we hope, right? But start off small, increment, do it really well, and iterate.
Yeah.
That's always been our mentality.
Thank you, everybody, for joining in on this podcast. I loved all the insight that Bryan provided us, and I hope you guys who are starting businesses learned a lot about this. Let us know what else you want us to talk about, and if you want Bryan back on the channel and what he should talk about. And we'll see you guys next time on the Next Win Podcast. All right, guys, so head over to thejumbishop.com, and you can get 10% off anything on the website by using our promo code WINNING.